Hey, welcome, TDP family, friends, and our regulars who come through all the time, who's just a little bit more than just family. We thank you all for being here with us um today again, right? And every other Monday, we're here, Parent Power Hour, and really appreciate again you all being here. Y'all get ready to send the hearts, share the live, get your questions ready and your comments and everything. We are joined today by two amazing guests. We have Ruth Farfel and Kwane. Okay, I do not want to mess your name up. I want to say Kwane. Kwane, is that right?
It's Kwane. Yep. I'm used to it, so
Kawan.
it's no big
Okay,
deal.
and I was going to say that first, but I'm like, no, it's Kwane. Okay, Kawan with Kawan Wyatt as well. Excuse me, you all. I'm just y'all going to see William. William will be here, right? So it's great. Don't worry about that. As I get us set up into our groups and get us with our get our right audience and stuff in here, we always start off with a connecting question. And it's just some kind of random question or whatever that we ask our guests first, as I mentioned. And I told y'all would be surprised with this question as I am as the question come out. So what I would like to know from you all and the other guests who are watching is thinking about where we are today now. As kids, we may have had like a superhero that we wanted to be, but now where we are in the world now and how things are now, has that changed for you? Who is the superhero or what superhero powers would you want to have if you could? And tell us why. And let's go with Ruth first, and then we'll come to you, Kwan.
Um, well, in the spirit of Women's History Month, honestly, all the women in my life are my superheroes. My mom, my aunt, my sister. Yeah, they're brave, they're outspoken, and they have all the qualities that I aspire to be and have. So
Amazing.
Man, how can I top that?
I know, right?
I would say when I was a little young one, I used to always want to be like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle because they always made it look so cool eating that pizza and stuff. But now, if I had to say, if I was a part of some superhero crew, I'll probably join up with Captain Planet and them just because we do so much damage to this planet, man, and it's so much turmoil. We treat each other so bad. I think just want to just give the Earth a hug. So I would probably be a part of the Captain Planet crew and try to save the world in that way.
Okay. Amazing. Thank you. And for those who are watching, again, welcome, Darling, Joy, Joanne. Just to name a couple of folks who jumped in already. Y'all let me know y'all's as well. Put y'all's in. Yeah, Ruth, you made this hard. Especially because now my mother is watching. and I, and I can't be like her. So, Ma, I love you. You're a hero in your own rights. But I am, I am going to have to. Oh boy, I am. This is. Oh no, that's going to sound so mean. Okay, well, it is what it is. He was a car. He's. I guess he's still like a superhero, but not Raiden from Mortal Kombat, the guy that like shoots electricity out. Like I liked him, but right now, just today with everything, I just would like to like shock a couple of people really, really quick and like get it together soon, real quick. Not bad. I don't want to hurt him. Raiden didn't hurt him. He was a god of unity and brought people together. So it's not a hurting them. Just kind of like snap into it and get it together and let's join, together.
I used to punish my cousins with Raiden.
Did you? Okay, look, amazing. So William is here. William, I asked what superhero we want to be. It might have changed from when we were little. Oh, did you hear the question already? Oh, great. So then you can just jump right on in the answer and take over and let me get the people going in the comment section.
Not so fast. First of all, hello to our esteemed guests, Ruth and Kwane. Nice to have you all here. Family, thank you all for indulging me. Brother Tyrone, thank you for being Johnny on the spot as always. I am picking up my daughter. This is her first week of track, so I will be broadcasting in the car as she does something that her old man was never successful at. So I'm really happy about that. Superhero-wise, Brother Tyrone, it's a split, man. It's Black Panther and Batman right now. You know, it's still I don't think the world is any closer to being a just world. I know that probably sounds cynical, but I think now we're getting more and more of these equity issues not popping up, but being magnified. So those would be my two superheroes there, Brother Tyrone. And did you get to go, Brother Tyrone? Did I miss your take on it? Okay. Well, we're going to jump right into the questions. And speaking of equity and things that we are fighting for, transportation is one of those things that I guess if you're not a city school scholar or parent, you probably don't really think of it. I know personally, I grew up in a place where if folks needed to go to school, we just get on the yellow bus, go to school, and that'd be that. And, that's pretty much it. And hey, I never even conceived as a child that there are young people that are taking city buses and other different form of transportation to get to school. So we are really happy to have Ruth and Kwane with us today. Ruth, we're going to start with you. Introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Ruth Farfel. I'm the manager of analysis and engagement at the Fund for Educational Excellence. And the analysis and engagement team, we work to elevate the voices of students and families through reports, which my colleague Kwane will talk a little bit more about. But I'm also a co-author of the report on transportation, not in service, why public transit must aim to serve students.
Great, and I'm Wyatt, program director at the Fund, also co-author of the report that Ruth just mentioned, not in service. And at the Fund, as she mentioned, we're the only local education fund here in Baltimore. We work as a trusted partner with the school district, and we try our best for students and parents to uplift their voices with the reports that we put out. Really just get to the heart of some really important community issues, challenges that students face that get in the way of their ability to make the most of their education. I think that's the biggest thing that we do with the reports that we put out.
All right, thank you both so much. And Kwane, forgive me for the mispronunciation. Let us know, what is a typical time frame? How does that work for scholars that are in transport, and in transit every day? Kwane, let's start with you, then we'll go to Ruth.
Yeah, I would say there's really no typical, because every commute can be completely different depending on where you are in a city and where you have to commute to. Some of our students maybe have the good fortune of having a parent that can take them to and from, but for a large majority of our students, they have to make pretty long commutes, on average 45 minutes, on average at least one transfer, commutes for some students up to 90 minutes. And they see a lot of different things, experience a lot of different things on their way to school that can put them in a tough spot in terms of being ready to learn when they get into the classroom.
Yeah, just to add on to that, students take often multiple modes of transit, whether it's light rail, bus, combination of both, subway. They have pretty long commutes, 45, like Kwane said, up to 90 minutes or more. And they're often walking to and from bus stops that are far. So yeah, the commutes vary, but we hear some of the same things over and over again that were mentioned.
All right, thank you both so much. And in your research, why is transportation such an issue? And what kind of changes can be made? And I really like for you all to give folks who don't have a clue about the situation kind of a bird's eye view of what some certain young people go through. I know you mentioned the time frame, and Kwane, you mentioned some of the things that they face. Can you really dig in and unpack that so people can have an understanding?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that with our research, after talking to over 270 students, some of the major themes that we saw really fit in the two big umbrellas: safety concerns and concerns about reliability. Students told us that they often feel unsafe when they have to travel early in the morning or after dark. You know, sometimes it gets it gets late super early. It gets dark pretty early in the winter months. And you know, even if you're just doing some sort of extracurricular activity that's not that far into the afternoon, it could be pretty dark on your way getting home, having to navigate car traffic and unsafe driving. A lot of students told us that they feel very uncomfortable when they're surrounded by crowds of unfamiliar people, either on transit or at transfer points. They see arguments and physical fights between adults, oftentimes that break out pretty frequently. Students also report that it's not uncommon to see, you know, individuals who are, you know, suffering from substance abuse, like, or even in the process of maybe, you know, using drugs, either on the bus stops or on train stations. One of the heartbreaking things that we heard a lot that we maybe didn't anticipate initially, was a number of students, female students, telling us how often they're sexually harassed by older men on their trip to and from school, making them feel uncomfortable and at times frightened. One student told us, you know, you can't really have your hair done. You can't dress up, you know, because you're going to attract certain unwanted attention on your way to school. And most of the students, a lot of students told us that they just have to be cautious overall. One student mentioned that she was on her way to school, and with her god sister, they catch the bus together, and a guy came up to them, held them up at gunpoint, told them to unlock their phones and rob them for their devices. And that's a more extreme example, but whether you're a victim of violence yourself, or if you've seen community violence, it really just begs the question of, like, how can a student be ready to learn when they first step in the classroom? And it's the stuff they're seeing at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, you know? And that's mostly just the safety stuff. I didn't even touch on the reliability issues with that answer.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Kwane. Ruth. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Please add.
no, just some more high level, and I'll touch on reliability as well. I just wanted to reiterate, and you said this in the beginning, William, but Baltimore is the only school district in Maryland where students rely on the MTA to get to and from school. And that is, students make up 18% of the ridership. And we really found and are highlighting that they're not accounted for in the way that adult riders are. The system was created to get riders downtown to get to their jobs. And oftentimes students, where they're going, how they use the bus, it's not taken into account. So we're really trying to elevate that and push for the needs of those changes. And in terms of reliability, just to touch on that, you know, oftentimes students said the bus just is not coming on time. More often than not, they're waiting. Sometimes they pass them because they're too crowded. They're getting to school late, which messes with their first period class and their academics. So reliability and safety were one of the two biggest sort of themes that we heard over and over again from students.
Wow, that you know, I'm so glad that you all really kind of highlighted those things, because even, you know, come on, when you were saying, oh, you know, 45 minutes, some people would just dismiss that. Okay, so they have to, it's 45 minutes. No, it's so much more than that. And if you take one of those horrific incidents that the young people face and imagine that, you magnify that by the time frame, the duration, you know, it becomes that much more traumatic, and it becomes that much more of a difficulty every single day in one way or another for these young people to show up. You know, it's just like you said, how can they show up? Brother Tyrone, I was gonna yield to you and our wonderful audience to see if there are any questions or comments for our esteemed guest thus far.
Yes. So first, to go back, comment. Actually, my mother again. Well, not again, but first time she said, my superhero would be Wonder Woman, because I'm already like my mother, which is who's my first superhero. So here y'all go, you know, all that nice stuff. That's it. But yes, and also So I worked on, thank you all for doing this work. I worked with a couple of people a couple of years ago. I would like this issue has been, these issues with transportation have been around and going on for a while. Like this isn't anything new. And like the information, definitely thank you for it. And it's not new. One, I kind of get to hear it firsthand because I do have a student, a daughter who who uses MTA to get there. And as you said, it's the same thing. My real irritation comes in, and I'm sharing this. Someone else that typed it, had asked this as well. My irritation come in when the school and the administration, like they see a pattern of a student being late, and it's particularly for first period. And we as parents talk to them and let them know the students have went and told them on multiple occasions that the bus ride by me and leave if it's super crowded, if it's too late or whatever. But there is no sort of well, let me just go to this part question. I know what they said. They said, how do I deal with a school that don't believe my child about the bus being late? Is what they asked. And I shared that story because it's the same thing. I had to literally go through the same thing with my child. My kid does not miss school. My kid is always there and present. You don't get, like issues like we already know this. And when the bus is there on time, she's there on time. So I don't know if any of you could give any insight to this parent for that. And I'll talk to you parent too afterwards.
And so that's one of the things that's just unfair about this entire system. The thing that, if you're in a different county, you don't got to deal with that, right? But being in Baltimore City is something that you got to deal with. And really the only true answer is to continue to do it as Brother Tyrone has done it. Going up to the school and advocating for your student, trying your best to document, and capture that. And hopefully enough parents and enough students will speak out and, they can identify that trend and it becomes very clear. There were instances where we did our video for, I think capturing Amani's story. Was one of the students that we had. She went to Western and she was saying, hey, that was something that when she first started at Western, she would be late and there wasn't really a process, but enough students sort of advocated for themselves. And it was clear that the MTA was making them late. The bus was making them late. And it became a process within that school. Since there's no uniform policy, I think it has to be done on a school by school basis.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add that we're continuing to share these stories and have students share their stories because we believe educators and people at city schools, they really need to understand what students are going through. And we feel like there's a disconnect right now, and they're not fully understanding, they're not empathizing. And so we really are hoping that's part of the solutions that we talk about as we move forward.
Thank you all so much. And Tyrone, before you hop back in, Kwane and Ruth, I am dying to know what MTA's response is when you broach these conversations with them. What do they say?
Well, it's a difficult topic just because I think there is a very nuanced job that they have of creating a schedule that makes sense and works for tens of thousands of people. And so initially, I think they say, hey, we're trying to do our best we can do with driver shortages, with COVID, with all these disruptions. We have to be able to sort of anticipate what the need will be 6 months from now. And it's been very hard for us to do with the disruption of COVID. Even before then, the best you can really hope for as a agency, a transportation agency, is to have your on-time performance and your buses to come in terms of not too early and not too late 80% of the time. That would be ideal. That's the creme de la creme. But with COVID, it's good luck trying to get close to that 80%. But what we wanted to really highlight with our conversations with MTA was that we saw that there was a void where we understand that you have to get folks to work. We understand that you have to get folks to and from. But when you're with the origin destination survey from 2015 to 2018, when you're surveying actual riders on the bus and at the light rail stops, but you can't survey someone who's under 18, you're missing a whole demographic. And this is a fifth of your ridership. So really it took some time, but I think they're beginning to see where those gaps are. The solutions, we still have to work through figuring those things out. But I think that's sort of like the push and pull that we've been going through, is getting them to understand, like, hey, we're not asking you to do something only for students, but they are getting left out. So we have to double back and fix some things that are broken.
Thank you, Kwane. But come on, let me ask you, or maybe Ruth, because you just said what I was thinking. Is it possible that MTA does a student-only bus? I mean, I'm naive here. I don't know, but is it something they would consider? Is it something that they could look at? It would, to me, it makes sense. But again, I don't know.
Yeah, so there is what they call tripper service, which are additional buses that run during peak hours where students are going to be on certain routes. And so it does help to have those additional buses out there, but due to certain legislation, and you know, typically from the Federal Highway Act of 1973, those routes really, they can't deviate from the routes that already exist very much. They can't deviate from the route. They can't say student only. They're not allowed to put that on there. If you get federal funding, you can't have a student only bus. So because of these sort of weird, antiquated laws that really were made to protect, you know, private bus agencies in the 70s, you can't really create service directly for students. And so I guess our argument is that since we can't create service strictly for students, but because you're a federal agency, you gotta factor in students into your overall service development. Because if you don't, they're gonna get left behind.
All right, Ruth, did you have anything to add before we go to
Yeah.
Tyrone?
I just wanted to say the issues that students are bringing to us and elevating are issues that all riders are facing. So we're not asking the MTA to fix, you know, student issues that are just for, you know, some of them are specific to students, but a lot of them all riders are experiencing. And so, you know, this would help all riders in Baltimore. So I just wanted to say that as well.
Thank you. Very, very good and fair point.
Yeah, I thank you, Ruth, for saying that. That was one point that I definitely wanted to make myself, and everything. But the other point is, and where my irritation comes in at, as you mentioned, you know, yeah, there's definitely maybe federal laws, but I feel like there are definitely still ways around when you have a city that can create free buses for commuters in a particular zone, an area down by the harbor and in places for people. Remember, those buses are free. It's free for them to get on those buses that go from from one point to another point. MTA receives money for kids to ride the bus. That's unlike, it's not a free service. They receive money. So although you can have student only, you can have a bus that takes a particular route where mostly students are, that go from somewhere and maybe just end at the school, which will prevent other, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I just wanted to say that because I like, it's this game that is played in Baltimore and I mean other places, but we're talking about Baltimore, right? And Baltimore City is, again, the only jurisdiction that has to catch public transportation. So when you're receiving money and you can do this for free, like that's the big part. It is done for free. There are a couple of different commuter, but whatever they call it, I might have the name wrong, y'all, because I don't catch them. But there are a couple of free different places, and I know it's a pretty nice distance and where those free buses ride at, that if they did something like that, that could pick up and help a lot out with students, especially timing, those who's having those timing issues of getting to school. I just wanted to say that.
I'm glad you put that. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ruth.
I just want to say thank you for saying that. And I just want to be real, like that transit is prioritized for white, wealthy communities. these are Black and brown students, and you know, there's a lot of racism happening in the decisions that are being made and who gets transit and where. So I just wanted to call that out.
Ruth, you brought back the nuggets, Ruth. You brought back the nuggets. So we do this nuggets of wisdom when people drop, you know, these great gems and speak truth to power on the show. You know, both you, Ruth, and Kwane, you certainly do that, but Ruth absolutely explicitly saying what it is. And, you know, policies can be changed, y'all. And you know what I think? Yeah, I always go back to, you know, to the boycott, but that's another topic for another show. But anyway, Tyrone, was there anything else from our family out there, audience members? Anybody?
Yes. Okay. Okay, so I want to read Ashley Esposito for Baltimore City Board of Education's. She said, this is a great idea to have a route dedicated to school routes. You could also pull data. Oh man, the rest of your comment. Okay, here we go. I got it now. You could also pull data regarding where students live and where they actually go to school to plan the frequency of, I don't know why Facebook switches up so much with their stuff and how you do. I'm sorry, Ashley, that I can't get to the whole comment. It's not allowing me, but Ashley, it sounds like she's in line and on board with what. Okay, here we go. School plans to frequency on the right. Okay, that was it. That was the end of the comment. It's more dots. There we go. And then our brother Anna Quinze, welcome Anna Quinze. I have doubts that trying to push MTA is going to resolve these issues in the short or long term, mainly because Baltimore City has no control over it. Out of the 50 largest transit agencies in the country, the Baltimore region is the only one that is governed and operated by a state agency without a board of directors. Conversely, most of our neighboring peer cities' regional transit governance structure, Philadelphia, Boston, Washington, D.C., Providence, and Richmond. And I just wanted to say from that, thank you. Y'all keep commenting, and the people are rolling in. They're loving this conversation, y'all. Y'all got the people lit and coming up in here. So y'all come on in with your comments and stuff. And Anna Quincy, you're right. I think the one point that I was making, and I think William also mentioned about being able to change policy stuff, and then please Ruth and Kwane jump in as well. I don't necessarily think it's about trying to get MTA to change, but more so changing the people who actually make the decisions. So that's going to the state, and that's actually putting in legislation and putting in some laws that will change. Then MTA would have no choice but to do this. So, you know what I mean? So it's not like going to MTA, you know, to doing it. And then also, Ashley says, thank you all for breaking that down and calling out the inequity in resources. I hope that's all she said, because I can't see I'm so, Ashley, they not liking me and you. They don't want us to comment today because you tell us some stuff. But
it's that metaverse, Tyrone. You know, the new metaverse. Sorry, y'all. Just saying what it is. What changes we always have hurdles? We always have obstacles where we're talking, especially in the public square, we're talking about equity. Ruth, what are some changes that we can make or that can be made in order to fix this issue or these issues?
Yeah, we need our legislators to be bold. We need them to speak up. And it hasn't happened. And right now, there are 2 pieces of legislation that could possibly push some of these changes. We are looking at the legislation right now, and it's not enough, to be honest. HB 1055 and HB 1056. There's a hearing tomorrow on these, and we have more information on our website, which I'll share with you all. Trying to get, you know, small changes. But honestly, we need to be pushing the people running for governor. The Regional Transit Authority is also on the docket. That's trying to be pushed because we need to change the way decisions are made. And so we do have a couple of pieces of legislation that we're watching, but we really need our legislators to do what do what students are asking for and not do the bare minimum, which is what we've been seeing.
Thank you so much. Kwane, you have anything?
Yeah, definitely. I echo everything that Ruth just said. And I think, with this gubernatorial race that's coming up, really just getting somebody in that seat, since we don't have a Baltimore Regional Transit Authority, getting somebody in that seat that understands the plight of Baltimoreans and understand the fact that, there's been studies that show the greatest predictor of whether or not a student is going to graduate from high school is how complicated or unreliable their commute to school is. So it's not just an inconvenient thing. It's a thing that impacts students' lives in a very real way. Having someone who understands these issues, we try our best right now to get in front of as many of those individuals who are running for governor, and hopefully we can get their ear. And this topic is a part of their platform in some way, shape, form, or fashion.
Thank you, Kwane. Brother Tyrone, I know you had something from the audience there.
Let me see. Well, what I was going to do, and I believe that Ruth did it. I wanted to get out. She said that she was going to mention. She said that it was more information about the bills. So I was going to ask her if she could give me, tell us that so that we could post it in the comments now and pin it. So that way people could be going, throughout the show to get the information and find out about the bill. So we could post that. We got that. We will pin that up there as well. And oh man, I don't know why this is doing this. Thank you for pinning it. And also, could you please send me that comment from Ashley Esposito again, y'all? Rebecca, please. I don't know why this is doing this to me, but she says to definitely. Here we go, y'all. Definitely pay attention to the Baltimore City. Definitely pay attention to the Baltimore City school board race. There are 2 seats that will be elected this year. So, with what's going on, I would like to. She threw it out there. I would like to hear y'all thoughts on that. I had thoughts on that, y'all. We need to have a show about that, and separate, because though it is great. It's a nice thing for 2. We still need more than that because the power was still controlled. It's the structure of Baltimore. It's what they do when it comes to. However, Ashley is one of the ones that's running, so she's here. Check her out, everyone. You know what I'm saying, and find out. She's right in our comment section. So click on her page and try to connect with her. Ashley, I don't know if you want to put some other type of contact information in where people could see. I know you are one of the candidates running for that seat. And you're here talking some decent stuff now, but we would like to get to know you, even more around that. Maybe we can have you come on and talk more about what an elected, we talked about it before, but have you followed about that a little bit more? And then I want to read this comment and then get back to the questions for you all. I'm sorry. I believe we need our own school bus fee. This is a perennial issue. The underlying problem is that the school and transit systems were both segregated for so long. Baltimore City, post Brown versus Board of Education, did not invest in a school bus fleet to bus Black students to integrate schools. We still have similar problems furthered by school choice, where the resources are not allocated equitably. Woo. Yeah, it's real, Anna Quinze. So that's our comments. I'll turn to you if you want to comment on any. I know I said a lot, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get it in so we can get it. I know that was a lot from both, but if y'all want to respond to anything.
Yeah, to that last point, the MTA, as in terms of especially the buses that Baltimoreans use, as well as Baltimore City Public Schools, are just 2 chronically underfunded systems that predominantly serve Black and brown folks. And so when you have these 2 chronically underfunded systems, that it has this compounding effect where it's just way worse than if it was one system as opposed to both of the systems that students have to rely on. Like, you go to school when your school's underfunded, you got catch the bus to school and the buses and the overall transit agency is underfunded. So it puts you in such a a disadvantage as a Black or brown student having to rely on both of those particular institutions. As far as the bus fleet, it's just very difficult logistically, I think, especially with school choice. I think school choice is the best thing, because, maybe we don't have as many schools that will allow for a student or families to feel like they have an option depending on what neighborhood they're in. So giving someone an opportunity to say, I can go to any school in the city is a good thing. So but it does make the logistics of having a school bus fleet kind of difficult, just because if I live in Southwest Baltimore and I'm going all the way to the city, it could be, you could have 5 students on one block that are going to 5 different schools. And it just makes it a very difficult thing to put together, not only logistically, but from also a financial standpoint. I mean, the system that we have is what we have right now. It's tough. It's a tough thing.
And I just wanted to add, in terms of the yellow buses, we thought about it a lot, but we feel like it doesn't solve all the issues. Specifically, students were telling us how and where and when they use buses and for what different things, and they're using them in the evening, they're using them in the summer, they're using them after school for jobs, internships, and so yellow buses only solves for part of the problem. But students need to get different places, different times of the year. So we want to help solve for all of those issues.
It's a fantastic point both of you have made. Tyrone, is that all from the folks?
No, of course not. Y'all, listen, you know what? I'm not liking this. I had to call Facebook and figure out why they doing this to me today. Becca, I need you again to send me the last comments. But anyway, I'm gonna go to this one comment and then I'll get back to that one. We wouldn't have sent students across town if their neighborhood school was viable and well-resourced. That is absolutely, listen, and Quincy, you took the thoughts and words out of my mouth. Because I mean, those school choice is great because you do have students that need access to those things and they're able to go and they can't get it. But that is the reality, that if every school that was here had, what our students needed, and it wouldn't even be an issue. I mean, a thing. But let me get to this other one here. Okay, here we go. Yeah, that's a hike. I'm in Southwest Baltimore, and we definitely struggle being connected to the other quadrants. Yes, absolutely. The Chicago Executive Schools. Yeah. So that was it. Y'all, please continue to come through. I know for a fact if our neighborhood schools closed, it would have a devastation on, that's definitely across the board. For those schools that, for those who still have neighborhood schooling and stuff, and that's good, that it would be an issue. But I'm glad that y'all did bring it up about the yellow. Y'all brought up about the yellow buses and that not being enough to service students and stuff like that because of the summer jobs. Because that was one thing that was big for me that I kind of advocated for when we talked about that, is like, these students are doing a lot. You have students who needs coach class after school, who are in extracurricular activities after school that the yellow bus services would not, be able to get them home anyway. They need it. As someone else stated, summer jobs, and even those students who work year-round jobs. The one other thing that I would like to see actually is for them to extend the time before the passes run out for students. Because could y'all correct me? I don't have that issue because I'm able to take my daughter anywhere after school hours when she need to go. But is there still a time limit on the time for the student passes to work?
Yeah, that's a thing that still exists. And right now, I mean, that was one of the things that hopefully with some future legislation, it was one of the things that we were pushing for recently that kind of got left out. They got, the window was between 5:30, I believe, and 8 o'clock. So if you have extracurricular stuff that you're doing, you're running track, and it's after 8 o'clock, good luck. You can't use your school, the pass your school gives you, your S pass or your the pass that you get from your school directly. So and there's other districts close by. DC has a Kids Ride Free program where they get to use the pass an unlimited amount of time. They could use it in the summertime to get to internships, into summer jobs. And so there's really no reason why we don't have a similar model here. It really limits what students can do as far as extracurriculars and jobs and internships.
Okay, I'm gonna get back to this. Give me 1 second. Agreed. Many students are breadwinners for their families and contribute financially to their household expenses. Yeah, so having that, being able to, access some of that stuff, having those things are definitely important as well. So yeah, just while William is there, could you all talk about a little bit more about the bills, or if there's anything that we could do? I know that you said a hearing is tomorrow. I'm not sure where it's at in the process, but is there anything that we as parents and those who want to see something happen better for our students with transportation that we can do to help advocate or push these bills or do anything?
Yes, so we do need support for the bills. However, we don't think these bills are enough, to be honest. And we need a collective, strong collaboration of folks who are willing to show up when we need them, tell their stories. And so if you're interested and you want to join our coalition, you want to join our work, you want to stay on top of ways to be involved and get your voice heard, I have another, we're working with Baltimoreans for Educational Equity, and they have a sign up if you want to be involved in any actions, because we really need a strong group of parents, families, and students, because like I said, we are supporting these bills and we want you all to support them as well, but we feel like they're not bold enough, and we want to continue to push for solutions in the long term as well. So I'm going to put another link in the chat for folks who want to sign up to take specific actions in the coming weeks and in the year as well. And B is also hosting a gubernatorial forum. So we want you all to show up, push these people who are running, ask them the questions, and yeah, so those are a couple of things.
When is the gubernatorial forum?
I don't want to give you the wrong date.
Okay.
Kwane, do you know? I believe it's in May.
It's definitely in May. I think it's the 24th. Let me see if I can.
Whenever you can confirm it, even if it's later on, send it to us so we can know, because that's things that we need. The media and other outlets are not going to promote that the way that they should. So us who are connected to parents and people who care about these issues, we need to be promoting and pushing that as long, as much and as long as possible. As we can. So just whenever you do get it, let us know, because these are things that we need to make sure that people are turning out in huge numbers without a doubt. So yeah,
and actually it's May the 24th will be in so I'm gonna actually put the Eventbrite link inside of the chat. And it's 5:30 to 7 o'clock on the 24th.
5:30 to 7.
Yes.
I'm okay. All right. I don't want to talk bad about it, but okay. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm into this stuff. I get upset with some. An hour and a half. You should have almost every candidate there, where it's going to be time for the people to really get into the questions of the people. I mean, forums are amazing. Don't get me wrong. We need them to be able to hear from the candidates. But a lot of these forums the questions are already pre-selected and sent to the candidates, so they get to dress their answers up and make it sound good for the damn people. It doesn't relate to anything that really matters to us, and we're there. And all right, go ahead, William. I'm shutting up, y'all, because
what would you like me to say after you just said that?
Ask them another question. Just go to something else. Just go to something else.
Well, we thank you all so much for being here. You covered every aspect of what you all are trying to accomplish. Kwane, you didn't mention MTA is kind of tied up with federal monies. But what can we zero in on exactly what's happening in the city council, if anything? Ruth, I know you were talking about those bills a little bit. Can you just kind of explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's tough. I think the main changes are going to be with the state. I mean, we had a city council hearing in December. Folks showed up, gave testimony. We've briefed council members. I think the biggest thing with the city council is we need their support. We need them to collaborate with folks with the MTA, and we need those people to come together. Like I said, form a coalition. So they definitely have a role. I'm not sure how much they can push. That doesn't mean we don't keep talking to them and things like that, but it is difficult considering who makes the decisions and things like that.
If anything, they can raise awareness, and they have the voice and the platform to do that, even though they may not have, any kind of direct input that's necessarily possible because of the legislation. They can raise this as an issue. And listen, I don't know who that was, Tyrone, that messaged us in. This can be done. There can be some kind of mapping. We're intelligent enough people to have a bus allocated, some kind of mapping where kids can ride these buses for free. I just totally believe that. I don't think it can't be done. Though it's very difficult. I don't know, they will probably never concede to that, but I do think it can be done. Let's see here. I guess we kind of have talked about the barriers. Are there any barriers that we really haven't mentioned, Ruth or Kwane, as to why things can't be changed?
I think another thing that's just difficult, and this isn't something that's just unique to Baltimore, but just manpower in terms of there being bus operator shortages, right? If you don't have the staffing to really, you have all the buses in the world, but if you don't have the people qualified to actually operate the buses, and there's always that push and pull, that's coming from other spaces where you could do Uber Eats, or you could just do Lyft, and you could make a comparable amount of money and have a lot more flexibility, not have to do a 12-hour shift. A lot of people are taking that autonomy and want to go a different direction, as opposed to having to be on a bus in the same way that a bus operator for MTA would have to be, especially during the pandemic. It was tough for a lot of the bus operators. So I just think operator shortage, but I think there's things that MTA can do by making it by sweetening the pot, incentivizing those roles, taking a look at bus operator pay and making it more competitive so that people want to go into that field still, no matter how difficult it is as far as the schedules and stuff like that. But I think that is an obstacle, definitely a barrier.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that something that is unique to Baltimore is that we are a bus-heavy city, so it makes it difficult. The reliability, congestion. Other cities have more subway and all of that, and so, we haven't been super involved, but we are pushing for the red line. We want to see that because we want more options for our riders and students to be able to get around. So that I just wanted to mention that as well.
And Ruth, for those that are unfamiliar, can you go in just briefly about the red line and what that would mean, what that would look like for the city?
Yeah, so really getting folks from east to west in the city. It was struck down by the governor, and it's groups of folks are coming together to make sure that that comes up again. We've been working with VTech, who works on transit issues, and they're really, I think, trying to get that up and running again. But getting from east to west, would really help our students a lot and decrease their commute times and just help them overall.
Yeah, and just overall, it would have added estimated over 15,000 jobs for the city and increased household earnings, just given the opportunity. So even beyond just students, everyone would have benefited from that project. So it's unfortunate that it was scrapped the way it was.
Wow, thank you both for that. And do you all know the reason it was struck down?
I think that the primary reason is, the person who was in that seat, that governor's seat at the time, who's still in that seat now, from a political standpoint, he's roads heavy as opposed to public transit. He personally felt it was a project that wouldn't benefit the state. It would have been a waste. And so there was funds that were sort of earmarked, given to us on a federal level that he gave back to the government. And they just weren't used, because he didn't think it would be a project that was worth investing in. So, yeah.
So is the red line on the table now with the next gubernatorial candidate?
I think if we get the right person in office, it can become a reality again. It really just depends on who's in that seat and if they are the type of individual who understands the plight of Baltimoreans and can really conceptualize how big that would be for the city of Baltimore and realizes that you can do something for the city of Baltimore and it's not at the expense of anyone else. Like it's something that is really needed, especially with the disinvestment that the city has had for so many years.
All right, thank you all so much. Brother Tyrone, anything else from the audience?
We have a lot of thank yous for being here to you all. So, of course, thank you all for being here with us. And do you have a question? Has city schools adopted and implemented any of the FFEE's recommendations on school choice? And are there plans to use the Kerwin funding formula and guidelines to disrupt the way city schools concentrates resources and enrichment programming at a few schools? I feel strongly that doing that along with improving our transit system for students will go a long way to make things more equitable. We can't be in here in 10 years. I'm sorry, we can't be here in 10 years and still have people saying my kid can only go to Poly City, Western, or Bard for high school to get a high quality educational experience that prepares them for the next level.
Yeah. As far as city schools in terms of school choice specifically, there has been over the last several years an increase of the advanced academic programs that are offered in middle school, which is important because you need that to be uniformly offered so that there's not a situation where kids in Roland Park get access to all these advanced academic classes, but someone in another particular part of the city that's less affluent doesn't have those same opportunities to have a rigorous middle school education and compete to get those seats at the cities and polys and westerns, right? I think in addition to that, I think that's one of the bigger pushes so far in terms of school choice. And it's a process though. It's a process, but I think that city schools has been making some strides.
Well, thank you again from me and the family and folks who are watching. Thank you all for being here. We ask that you please continue to do your work. We know this is not easy and it's going to be a lot, and we need more. If there's ever any way or anything going on that, we can help to put out to our parents and the people who watch us, educators, just send it our way. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure, we'll follow back up with y'all to, get updates and have you all come back. I appreciate you, myself and again from others for being here. And yeah, like coming out and doing y'all big one, as I would like to say, for being out here advocating and fighting for our students. Thank you.
Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And Ruth, one more time, how can parents and scholars get involved in this process? Just let us hear it one more time before we sign off.
Yeah, so a couple different ways. There's the Take Action form that I sent out through Baltimoreans Educational Equity that I can put back in the chat. And also email Kwane and I. Let us know you want to get involved. We'll talk to you more. We'll let you know. We'll keep you in the loop. I'll put my email in here. And if Kwane, you want to put your email as well. We will not turn down anybody who wants to help us or support students because we want to see solutions. So please reach out if you are interested in any part of this work.
Thank you so much. And Kwane, the gubernatorial Q&A forum, it's probably not really Q&A as Tyrone alluded to, but a forum. What is the date again for that?
That'll be May 24th, 5:30 to 7 p.m. May 24th.
Thank you. Put that on your calendars, good people. We do need to continue to fight in all different aspects for our young people, for our families, for ourselves, even as this is a megalith that we have to deal with on all fronts in terms of academics and education. This is a huge part. I really want to thank Kwane and Ruth for coming in and kind of illuminating how important the transportation aspect is to the child's day, to the scholar's day, and what that means, the stresses, what that could possibly mean, the traumas, what that could possibly mean, and impact on a student every day as part of their norm to going to school. I want to thank you all so much. Family, thank you all for joining us again. And tune in on this Thursday at 5 o'clock for Tyrone's House. Ruth and Kwane, you are invited to Tyrone's house. That's where he does all the talking. I do all the listening. It's fantastic. He just has a great way of, continuing to talk about our topics, but in his very own laid back style. All are welcome to the podcast. Of course, it is a virtual podcast. Do not stop at Tyrone's actual house. Please do not do it. Am I right, Tyrone? You don't want visitors at 5 o'clock on Thursday, do you? We can't hear you, but I'm going to take it as
I'm saying, they'll have my address. They just got the Zoom address. So
that's true. So you know what? You can't stop by anyway, even if you wanted to. But please join us on Thursday and then back again here next Monday on Parent Power Hour. Thank you all again for indulging me and being late with my new track star who's going to be coming up in Anne Arundel County pretty soon, showing her pops how to do it right. Okay, she didn't say anything. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for joining us, and we appreciate y'all. Take good care, people.
Thank you.
Thank you.